Hey, my lovely, lovely people, a pleasant afternoon to everybody. You know what? I'm going to encourage people to travel because when you travel and you experience peoples, it will make you appreciate or not appreciate some things, but it will make you, comprehensively and generally speaking, primarily appreciate the country in which you were born and raised. Because sometimes, we curse the country, especially when we have our different social ills, financial ills, mental ills, psychological ills, emotional ills, you name all the ills that we can think of. And we feel that elsewhere it's a bed of roses. And when you get elsewhere, you say, mighty God. Now, don't get me wrong, you might find, for example, in a financial sense, it may prove fruitful to live for a time. But if you notice, after a while, you find that people will come back to what they know or what they knew, what they were exposed to. It is like when you train up a child in the way he should go, not grow, the way he should go. When he's old, he doesn't depart. It doesn't mean that you will not stray and do things that you should not do, but there are some things you will not want to. You're going to get when tragedies strike or when calamities hit or when difficult moments come, you're going to automatically go back to what you know or to what you were exposed to as a youngster, especially in the formative years, 0 to 12, entirely, the entire package. And that is why you will find a lot of returning residents in Jamaica. I just saw a newspaper clipping or something where Jamaica is added up to one of the many countries I saw as one of the safest places to travel. I always knew that. I tell people that there are many places that I drive to walk through, and you might, because of what people may say, you might, for the moment, instantaneously just give in to the fear. But when you realize that, but wait, I'm okay. Because a lot of the gang related issues are gang related. They don't just look at random people just like that easily. I'm talking generally speaking, and create problems for them. It is some sort of tribal war or gang related issue. But outside of those parameters, which happens in other countries too, by the way, it is pretty safe. Because Jamaicans, by and large, we are vivacious, we are lively. We're too aggressive, yes. There are some things that must be dealt with. One of the things that, when as I travel outside of Jamaica, the accountability that is kept up in other country, it's remarkable. You can't just operate willy-nilly and not be held liable. You're not answerable. It doesn't work like that. They will hold you accountable. Jamaica suffers from that, and that is why we have a sense of lawlessness. So let us say a man runs a red light and you are crossing and you say, but sir, I was crossing. When him done send you under your mother, your father, your auntie, your uncle, your cousin, your dog, and your rat. Other countries, they are gracious. This is something that I've experienced personally. And I'm somebody who gets out and try to talk to people, whether they want to talk to me as or no. So you see it because you want to test the theory, and that has to do with how you were brought up. That has to do with your environment and what you're exposed to. And if you're held accountable. There is a scripture, and I don't want you to confuse it when it says, do good to them that love you, that persecute you, that do all manner of evil to you. No, it is different. It says, if you reward evil with good, evil will never leave your doorstep. So if a child does something wrong and you do not scold the child, you know what kind of a monster you'll be raising as time goes on. And that child is going to turn on you. So, that has nothing, blessing and favor has nothing to do with, it's not lacking accountability, I should say. Blessing and favor. So even if you bless your enemy, they still must be held accountable. They still must be held liable. They still must be chastised or punished, or however you want to put it, in order for them to become better. That is why the scripture says, who the Lord loves, whom he loves, he chastens, he chastises, or punishes, or whatever you want to use. He reprimands. So that is one of the only, that's an issue that I have with us in Jamaica, where people are not. And the reason for me is that because the head is guilty, the neck is guilty, and the entire body is guilty. So because the head doesn't want to be held accountable and doesn't want to feel culpable, guilty, they can't, or they don't, they would be hypocritical to hold the body accountable. So that's a problem, and that is why we have a little sense of lawlessness as it relates to the attitude and behavior of most or many. Let me use the word many or some. Some may be a better word, some of the people. And they, you have the aggression, which I don't like. But outside of that, and that can be rectified, those behaviors can be changed, For the most part, our country, we are living in bliss. Trust me on that, my beautiful people. We are living in paradise in Jamaica. Certain things that you think is bureaucratic, somebody was mentioning to me, I don't know how true it is, that a large percentage of the people who live in Canada, for example, they're living what we call hand to mouth, from paycheck to paycheck. They're struggling. I was shocked because I said, wow, it's a country that I'm told is underpopulated. It's huge. You could drop Jamaica in just one province and you can't find Jamaica. You know what I mean? I was saying to a lady that it took us 4.5 hours from Jamaica to Montreal. And, that's not where I'm at right now. I'm just giving an example. And a lady was saying, where we're at right now, she said it took her 5.5 hours from somewhere in Canada to get to somewhere in Canada. And I said, oh my God. It's funny coming, we're coming from a totally different country. That's how huge it is. But I'm saying to my wonderful, beautiful, lovely people, Jamaicans, that is, appreciate your country, Jamaica. You wouldn't understand the paradise that you're living in. You wouldn't understand the blessing. It has its ills. So do other countries. So do other places. Don't let any ghost, duppy, or rat fool you. Nobody feel it is paradise elsewhere. Financially, it may not be great in Jamaica, but it may not be the best in some other places that you think. You know what I mean? And when I saw, for example, where I'm at, saw so many homeless people, I was shocked. And it's an uptown area. In Jamaica, you will find more of the downtown areas if you're to find like homeless people or so on, people living on the streets in that. But when I saw it, I said, oh my goodness gracious. Oh my goodness gracious. And that is just one aspect. Certain bureaucratic tape that, certain freedoms that we have, you don't have it here. Don't feel that you just you have it here like that. It doesn't work that way. And so on. So let me tell you something, Jamaicans. Love your country, Hit out against wrong. Hit out against lawlessness. Hit out against, ill behavior and all of that. We have to do that, because as the scripture says, if you reward evil with good, evil will never leave your doorstep. So if you train up a child not in the way he should go, then you're going to raise a monster. You have to deal with that monster. You have to, and he will never not be a monster until certain draconian or drastic measures are taken to hold him liable. He taught against those things, but still love and appreciate your country, because may I tell you, it's not pretty just like that any and everywhere else. It's just that some people are afraid and ashamed to talk about it. They're embarrassed, to say the least. You'd be very, very surprised, my wonderful Jamaican people. Love your country. You know what I mean? If you find that going elsewhere may be easier for you and your family financially, then you do so. But still don't speak ill of your country. You know how many of them people who them send back? What's a shame like that? Because they cuss out the country, them this and that. And when they realize it worse for them, and then they get thrown out. Because they went in a second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 7, 8, 9, 10 class. While they were first class in their country. Even then they're homeless. They still have little rights and still have little freedom. You understand what I'm saying to you? My beautiful Jamaicans, appreciate it, appreciate it, appreciate it, love it. You know what I mean? And, and appreciate the people in your lives as well. People are indispensable. Don't think that they're not. Even though we may have nearly 8 billion people in the world, you don't have to have the same. Yes, you will have better people in their character and so on, but you will not find the same personality and character. Treat people good. Anyway, guys, you know what to do. Read TikTok and YouTube. Subscribe and Give me one of those lions. Thank you.